Hello world, this is Mike Merton and I am studying JavaScript. I'm using the book Sam's Teach Yourself JavaScript in 24 Hours by Phil Ballard. And I'm currently on the chapter DOM Objects and Built-in Objects. The first topic is interacting with the user. The main ways to interact with the user simply are the alert method, confirm method, and the prompt method. The alert method creates a pop-up box that just displays a message and has an OK button to close it. The confirm method creates a pop-up box that displays a message and then has two buttons, an OK and a cancel button. When you click the OK button, the method returns a true, and when you click the cancel button, the method returns a false. So if I said, "Am I great?" and I clicked OK, it would return a true. If I said, "Am I great?" and I clicked cancel, it will return a false. The prompt method, on the other hand, creates a pop-up that has a message and a text input box, and then an OK button and a cancel button. The text input essentially allows the user to enter in a string, and then when OK is clicked, it returns that string. If the user clicks cancel, it returns null. Or if the user doesn't enter anything in and clicks OK, it returns null. So I could say, "Hey, what's your name?" And the user could type in their name, click OK, and then I could store that in a variable for later use. Now, the next topic was selecting elements by their ID. And the method in the document object that is used for this is getElementById. Essentially, when you call document.getElementById, you return the properties and the methods contained in the HTML object that you are referring to. Now, the most common object used when using the getElementById object, or the most common property, is the inner HTML property. And the way you access that is by document.getElementById, and then in parentheses the ID dot inner HTML. So for instance, if we have a div with the ID of div1, and in the div tags there is a paragraph that say this is a paragraph, then we could call document.getElementById div1 in the parentheses dot inner HTML and store that in a variable, and it would store the paragraph, this is a paragraph element. We could also call document.getElementById div1.innerHTML equals, let's say, quotation marks, left caret p right caret, this is a new paragraph, left caret / p right caret, quotation mark. And so essentially we would be calling the inner HTML property again, setting it equal to a new paragraph element that when run would replace the paragraph that was in div1. Anyways, the next thing is accessing browser history. Browser history is one property, that is length. It tracks the number of web pages that a user has gone to. Now, it has three methods that can be used against that property, which is forward, back, and then history.go. Forward goes forward in the browser history, back goes back. So if you're on page 1, you go back, let's say you're on page 100, you go back, you're on page 99. If you go forward, you'd be on page 100 again. Back, you'd be on page 99, etc. Well, you could also use history.go, left parenthesis, -5, right parenthesis, and you would go back from 100 to 95, or the 95th page. Using the location object returns information about the current URL. It has properties such as .href, .protocol, .host, .hostname, .port, .pathname, .search, .hash. The href is essentially the URL. The .protocol is essentially HTTP or HTTPS or SMTP or FTP. but most often it's HTTP or HTTPS. .host is, if it was www.example.com, that's what .host would be. Now .host name would just be example.com. .port is the port that is serving the page. On HTML pages, it's normally 8080 unless it's a SSL page, which is, I forget what the standard SSL port is. Path name would be, if I were at example.com/mikehtml, the path name would be /mike.html. Search would be if there was a question mark and a search string included in the URL. And .hash would be any token or hash number that is added on to the HTML request. Navigating using the location object. Now, location object also has, the properties can be changed. So location.href equals www.mynewpage would take me to mynewpage.com. Location replace equals www.mynewpage.com would take you to mynewpage.com, but also it would replace in the history the last page visited with the new page visited. Reloading the page using location.reload is just that. You reload or refresh the page. Obtaining browser information using the navigator object is, from what I understand from the book, not a good way to do things to find out about what type of browser capabilities there are. I believe that the navigator object will give you an app name, an app code name, a version, a language, whether cookies are enabled, the CPU class, whether the browser is online, the platform that is running it, and the number of plugins. But like I said, I don't know if it's antiquated or what, but what it is not very efficient and unreliable. And I read that we will find out new and better ways in the future. In the future of the book, not in like a long future ahead of us. Using dates and time. Creating a date object with the current date and time. Date is not an object that exists when the browser is opened. You create a date by calling the date constructor. So for instance, in the script, it would be variable myDate or any other variable name equals date, left parenthesis, right parenthesis, semicolon. The constructor is date, left parenthesis, right parenthesis. When you do that, you create a date object. And that date object contains methods, at least 7 of them, like get full year, get month, get date, get day, get hours, get minutes, get seconds. When you do myDate.getFullYear, it'll return the year. MyDate.getMonth will return a number between 0 and 11. 0 being January, 11 being December. .getDate will return the full date. .getDay will return a day between 0 and 6, 0 being Sunday, 6 being Saturday. .getHours will return the hours. .getMinutes will return the minutes, a number between 0 and 60, or 0 and 59. .getSeconds is another number between 0 and 59. Creating a date object with a given date and time. You can pass a string into the date constructor, and it will give you a date, any date, a past date or a future date. You can then use arithmetic, say add 33 days to a current date, and it will calculate and return the new date. Simplifying calculation with the math object. The math object has 6 functions that were taught in this book. It has more functions than that, but the ones that we went over were ceiling, floor, math, min, round, and random. Ceiling will round a decimal number up to the higher limit of the number. Floor will round it to the lower. So if we had 0.8, 9.8, it would round it to 9. Max, so if you do math.max, left parenthesis, some number separated by commas, right parenthesis, it will return the highest number. Min does just the opposite. Round will round the number a decimal. Say if it's 1.5, it would round to 2. If it's 1.49, it would round to 1. So if it's above 0.5, 5.5 or above, it rounds up, and if it's below 0.5, it rounds down. And random returns a number between 0 and 1. There are mathematical constants contained in the math object, like the natural number, the natural log of 2, the natural log of 10, the log of base 2 of the natural number, pi, square root of 1 over square root of 2, the square root of 2, and then finally the with keyword gives us a way to enter a block of code with a way to pass an object into a block of code so that we don't have to use the nomenclature of that object to use its methods. So for instance, if I said with left parenthesis math, right parenthesis, left bracket, right bracket, and then in those brackets I declared some variables and used some methods that are included in the math class, I would not have to say math.random to store in a variable. I would just say random, left parenthesis, right parenthesis, semicolon, or max, left parenthesis, right parenthesis, semicolon, of course with numbers in the max method. For me, it's not a huge time saver, but I mean, if you have 100 methods that you have to declare and store into variables, I guess it's a big time saver that you don't have to type math every time. But anyways, that's all I have for this chapter on DOM objects and building objects so far. I hope to return to you with more in the future. Thank you for listening. Keep on turning, world.